Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Divide and Conquer as we are continue with the faction overviews with this week the Dwarves of the Blue Mountain, also known as Luin. So welcome to the most western part of Middle-earth, where we find the Dwarves of Luin. And if we dive into it straight away, with the starting regions as the Dwarves of Ar-Adunaim, you start with 3 regions, which is around average. We have Torrensals down here, Kahuzanur here at, well, the foothills of Ar-Adunaim, and Faham Katol here in the north. Each city has around 3 units, 2 or 3 units. A general and 2 sporting units. We have Clan Lord Gore. We have Nar in here. And we have what's his name? Grain in the north. Each with a few sporting units. So you have a rather small starting army. It should be enough to take some rebel regions around, but you need to train quite quickly. Then dealing with your bodyguards, and especially your unique one. Well, Clan Lord Gore starts with Gabil Control Guard, which is not your regular bodyguard, but just a very strong late tier infantry unit. Then we have Nar, who starts with your regular bodyguard, which is changed to a crossbow and I think spear unit. It used to be a two-handed sword unit, but it has been changed in version 5. The Tamundaha Nobles. And last but not least, Clan Herald Grain, who still has Broadby Marksman, a crossbow unit. And as you see straight away, the Dwarves of Ar-Adunaim are known for their crossbows, and that is combined with their pike units. So you have a pike and crossbow faction in the Dwarves of Ar-Adunaim. Then dealing with the family tree, and you have one. You have Clan Lord Gore with 2 sons, Grain and Nar. So a very small family tree, but you do have one. Continuing to geographical area. Well, as I already said, we are on the most western part of Middle-earth, the Blue Mountains, which are, well, mountains, of course. So there is a kind of defensibility in that right away. Do note, both Faham Katol and Torrens Halls can be attacked from both sides, so there is no one entrance towards your realm. And the rest of it is pretty open. As you expand, there are a few rivers dotted around that might give some choke points, but the majority of your country is pretty wide open. Then dealing with expansion. As Ar-Adunaim, there are a few rebel regions are dotted around. We have Perth and Luin, Osgallon, God Halagoth, Furost, Barkatha, and then, well, you quickly come to lands of Angmar. So I think God Halagoth and Barkatha are yours to take, and Furost already been contested with Angmar, so watch out for that. But there are a few cities to build up your empire. Then dealing with custom battle maps, well, you own 2 of them. Faham Katol and Torrensals are both custom. Depending on the road you choose, they might see some fighting, or they might not see any fighting whatsoever. Which could be unfortunate, because there are these, they both are custom, and they are, I think it's always a shame if custom battle maps up within the game and they are barely used. So that should be unfortunate, but it is all up to you how good or worse you do, or which road you will choose. All right. Next custom battle map would be Anuminos and Deadman's Dyke. Further up north, Khazad-Dûm, Bree. I think Hobbiton is custom, or it's just a regular Hobbit village. I'm not sure about that. But the Hobbit villages are different from the other middlemen. From the other middleman villages, so there is some variety in your fighting if you decide to go against Bree. But besides that, just regular, I think middleman or Northman cities. Might be Dunedain, but I don't think so. Then dealing with buildings and cultures, starting with your diplomat, which comes from Torrance Hall. In the city of Torrance Halls, so this plural and this not. That's where your diplomat come from. And then let's dive into the buildings. As the dwarves, you are restricted on the food line, which is food production, to only 2 tiers of food production. While other factions get around, I think, 4 tiers, maybe 5. Not really sure though. So you are quite nerfed in your food production, which is again resulting in a smaller growth. To compensate that, you have something in your mines that will improve your growth. It's not much, but it's something. Just to show how fond the dwarves are of mining. So it's reflected in less farming, more mining. Your mines are also better than any other than mines of any other faction, and besides the income, it also gives a culture increase bonus, just showing how important building mines for you is. So try to get them everywhere you can. Then dealing with ports. You do have a port, but do note you don't have access to any ships. You can get access to one ship, but you don't start with it. So you are known for not being a seafaring nation. Dwarves dislike the sea, like horse riding, for example. So you don't have ships. You have access to one guild, the Warriors Guild, like every other faction, which gives a melee weapon bonus, and the upgraded version gives a morale bonus. As for smithing, you are the dwarves, and the dwarves are known to be the best smiths in the world, so you have up to 6 tiers of smiths. Yeah, 6 tiers. All the way to the Hall of Aule, which gives you Aulian Plate, which is the highest tier of armor you can get. Only the elves have access to a similar tier of smithing, but for them it comes from Eregion only, which is called the Celebrimborian Plate, I think. We had the elves last week, so I should know. Well, you are not restricted in the castles or the city lines, so you can build all the way up to a large town, which is called a advanced mining complex. And you have all the way up to a stronghold as well. So no restrictions in there. You do have a few unique buildings, and we can go through it shortly, because I will call up more detailed later. The first one is the Hall of Durin. I will not talk about that much. It's a building that can only be built in Gundabad, which is actually the place of birth of the race of dwarves. So this is the hall where Durin the First awoke after being created by Aule. It gives public order bonus, reduced retraining cost, some free upkeep, but most important of all, the Hammers of Gundabad, which is a really, really strong strike unit. So, and it can be built in Gundabad only. So that is, that's for you a reason to try to take Gundabad. The second unique building is the Ruin Vaults, which can be built in Khazad-Dûm, and has a small script behind it. So I will just shortly go over it. It starts as the Crumbled Vaults, then you first expand it to the First Expedition, and then the Great Vaults of Beleriand, which give you the Beleriand Honor Guard, the best pike unit in the game, and gives a huge incomes boost, another melee weapon bonus, and public order. So there is really a reason to go down south, get Ar-Adunaim, and build the vaults. But that building is also script, and there's also a small script with it. So I will talk about that more. I think I can talk about it straight away, because I think we have had all buildings we need to talk about. We will return, because there are a few things that need some more clarification, but not for now, because now we are going to scripts and gameplay events. And as I already said, there are two gameplay events, two scripts, small scripts, one small script and one really huge script. We start with the smaller one, the reclamation of the Vaults of Beleriand, and that starts by taking the small village of Khazad-Dûm down south here. You reclaim the village. It's infested by goblins, so there will be a goblin army. There might be some trolls involved as well, but it is it's not too difficult to take, but it might need some attention to take it. Then when you take it, the scripts will kick in, and it will tell you that you have found the vaults, but there is lying something in beneath, and I think you first need to build the first expedition. So if we go back to the Rhun vault, first need to build the first expedition, then a script will kick in, and you will be attacked by another army of goblins who want to try to retake Khazad-Dûm, and if I remember well, it will involve a Balrog. So the second Balrog will come and will attack you, and will most likely take Khazad-Dûm. the army is very much intended to take the city. Then you probably need to reconquer it and build the Great Falls of Beleriand. If you manage to do so, you will see it's quite costly. So if you are able to take it, it will give you a good income boost. And give you access to the Beleriand Honor Guard. So, very much worth trying to take it. But it is just a small script compared to Luin's main script, which is the ring choice. And everybody who played Divide and Conquer before will probably already heard of it. But for those who doesn't, I will just walk you through the script to each point. And I've written it down because I've did my homework for once, at least for a bit. And it starts on the first turn with an introduction of an imaginary 8th clan, the Greenborn clan. At first turn it gives you an introduction. At the 50th turn it gives you a background message that how they are, where they are at this stage of life. Then at turn 30, a missionary will arrive. It will be dark clothed and, well, officially, let us say you don't know where it came from, but it is quite clear that it's coming from Sauron. The missionary offers you 3 rings. In return, he asks complete neutrality to all affairs of the rest of the world. So you will receive the 3 rings, and instead you will isolate yourself from the rest of the world. He says you have 4 turns to think about it. Then at turn 32, so halfway through the time to think about it, you will get a message from the elves that they heard of the missionary, and they warn you that if you accept the gift, there will be consequences, because they think there can't be anything good coming from this missionary. So you get the warning. So at turn 34, you need to make the choice. If you choose to reject the rings, the script ends there, and you will continue a normal Ar-Adunaim campaign. But for it, because you have stayed loyal to the good side of the world, the elves will grant you a second tier of a port, the Elf Haven, which is listed in here. They give you one of their ships. I think it's the what I want to say. It's not their best ships, but it's a better ship than most factions can get. So you get a ship from them, and you get access to the Lindon Mariners. So it's just a small gift, but the script is made not to give you great gifts, but to change your gameplay with Ar-Adunaim. So the gifts might seem a little bit disappointing, but it's not about the scripts. It's about the way you play Ar-Adunaim. If you decide to accept the rings, the script continues. On that point, on the moment you accept the rings, you will set neutral to every faction except for the rebels, because you can't get neutral with them. So every faction you are at war with, you're allied to, doesn't matter. You are set neutral to them. And a general will be spawned nearby Torrance Halls called Grindfawn. And Grindfawn is leader of the Grimborn clan. And he will spawn with Grimborn Reavers as bodyguard and 2 units of Grimborn Reavers. Which is a very late tier strike infantry unit. But the script continues. At turn 42, you will get a message which says that the dwarves are getting really corrupted by the rings, and Grindfawn start raiding lands of the elves and Bree. And you can imagine that consequences will follow. What I forgot to mention is that Grindfawn will spawn with 3 rings of power. You can give these auxiliaries to other generals. You can keep them on Grindfawn. They are really strong auxiliaries. I suggest you you give them to some other generals and keep them safe. Just to keep the ring safe. But the script continues. So at turn 42, we'll get a message that people of Ar-Adunaim are not happy with the dwarves who are getting more and more greedy. At turn 46, you get a message that Ar-Adunaim arises against you. So you have 4 turns to prepare. At turn 50, you will be besieged by an enemy army. It will be either the Elves of Mithlond or the Dunedain. It used to be either the Elves, Bree, or the Dunedain, but they switched it back that it is either the Elves or the Dunedain. And they are pretty good armies. They have the intention to take your settlement. If I remember well, it was once set up to take both Torrance Halls and Faham Katol. But I think they set it back to only Torrance Halls. But I could be wrong about that. I think it's only Torrance Halls, but it could be both. So at turn 50, you will be attacked by the High Elves in the first place, unless you are able to destroy the High Elves. Then you will be attacked by the Dunedain. It will take a 1-turn siege, so they will attack you on turn 50 and siege you until turn 51, and then you will really get the siege. Then you will have a time of peace to either reclaim your lost city or build up your army. Because at turn 62, you will get a warning from your former dwarf allies, Khazad-Dûm and Ereborn, with a message like, "We know what you have done. We know what you are. We don't want to be associated with you. So don't mess up. We will come for you." Then you have 4 turns to ally with both dwarven factions. If you already have the alliance, you only need to maintain it. So at turn 74, the engine will check whether you are allied to Khazad-Dûm and Erebor. The one you are not allied to, now at turn 66 it will check whether you are allied to. And the one you are not allied to at turn 66 will attack you in turn 74. So if you are allied to Erebor but not to Khazad-Dûm, you will be attacked by Khazad-Dûm in turn 74. Same way, same if it's the other way around. If you're allied by both, you will not be attacked. So the second invasion is avoidable. If my information is correct, Khazad-Dûm will attack Faham Katol, and Erebor will attack Torrens Halls. So you have at least a little bit of information where the attacks will come from. And again, just like with the first invasion, you will be attacked at turn 74, and you will have the siege in turn 75 to give the AI the opportunity to build siege engines. When you have defeated the second invasion, if there is one, the script will end. If you are allied to both faction, the scripts will already end then. Do note that the attack, that the second invasion does continue when the dwarf factions are defeated. So if, for example, Khazad-Dûm is defeated by turn 74, the attack will continue and the faction will have a new seat of power in your new city, in your former city. So it is really necessary to ally. I'm not sure what happens if the dwarves are defeated before turn 66, because then it can't be checked whether you were allied to them or not, because factions are now pacified when they are destroyed. So I have to be honest, I'm not really sure how that works out with the script. But it's very unlikely that either factions will be destroyed by turn 66. If one, it would be Khazad-Dûm, because Erebor almost never dies, unless Gundabad and Rhun has a really good time. But even then, I think they will be able to hold out until turn 100. But Khazad-Dûm might have trouble, but most of the time they will also survive till around turn 100. So it's very unlikely that they die before. But that is the ring choice script. Once you accept the rings, you also have access to train the Grimborn Reavers. We will see in the second half of the video whether they are restricted or not and how good they are, because they are really good. But it really changes the gameplay of Luin. If you reject the rings, it's probably one of the easiest campaigns in the whole game. While if you accept the rings, so if you decline the rings, it's one of the most easiest campaigns. If you accept the rings, it will be pretty hard, because both the Elven army and the Dunedain army are pretty hard to deal with. So that's about Luin. That's, I think, all I need to say about the campaign side of this faction. Now let's go to the battle map side of this faction, because they have a few very strong and very pretty units. So I will see you in a minute. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the battle map as we are dealing with the army of Luin. And in a quick overview we see we don't have any cavalry, but we do have a few options in the missile department, and as I hover over the Ziegler beast hunters, you will directly know that one of them is not straight away available for you. But that's the only exception in there. So if you have a solid amount of missile units at your disposal. But let's just dive in with your trash tier of unit, which are the Dwarven Laborers, who are still pretty good, with a 4 attack, 2 charge, 10 total defense, and an armor piercing ability. They will do pretty well against every enemy you send them to. They will not beat any Noldor veterans or something, but they will deal a good amount of damage against every unit, especially in the early tiers. They have good morale, good average morale spawns, because they are dwarves. They are all slightly slower than other infantry, but no other bonuses. So the dwarven laborers, your low tier infantry unit. Well, actually your trash tier infantry unit. Then we are dealing with your militia tier, and we start with the Firebeard warriors, and then deal with the Luin units. So the Firebeard warriors, another armor-piercing units with a 6 attack, a 7 charge, and a 14 defense, a direct upgrade of the dwarven laborers. They are pretty restricted, I think. Yes, they only come from the Blue Mountain regions, so they're not available everywhere. They have a very good morale, it patches morale spawns. They have normal speed, which is quite ordinary for dwarves. So they are slightly faster than your other dwarf infantry. And they have a bonus against camels, walks, and elephants. And they have single axis. No, they wield 2 axes, which is pretty nice actually. Then dealing with your Ered Luin units, starting with the Ered Luin militia, a sword and board unit, with a 7 attack, a 4 charge, and a 30 defense, a decent, well, more than decent militia tier unit. Very good morale, average morale spawns, nothing special about them, just a good militia tier unit. Then dealing with the Ered Luin pikemen, a more defensive variant of the militia, with a 3 attack, 3 charge, 9 defense. They are vulnerable to arch fire, but 3 attack you need to triple that actually for the true damage they will deal, because of the pike animation. So good early tier pike unit, very good morale, average morale spawns, bonus against all mounts, because they are pikes. And here we see our first crossbow unit, the Ered Luin Scouts, with a 4 melee, a 7 missile, a 2 charge, an 11 attack. More than decent, because they are crossbows. The ammunition is armor piercing. They have 26 missiles, 150 meter range, and an average accuracy. So with crossbows you see that they deal somewhat higher raw damage, but they have less range, because you can't reach as far with a crossbow than with a normal bow apparently. So then we continue with your mainstream units, which are the Longbeards. And we start with the Longbeard Swordsman, which is a direct upgrade from your Ered Luin militia, with a 9 attack, a 4 charge, a 20 defense, already getting in there in the 20s with the defense. So pretty tanky, excellent morale, good morale spawns, just a regular sword and board unit. They are supported by the Longbeard Phalanx, which is of course an upgrade of your Ered Luin pikemen, with a 5 attack, 3 charge, 60 defense, excellent morale, good morale spawns, and a bonus against all mounts. So still decent units. You see that the armor of the pikes are a little bit lower than the swordsman, but that is mainly because the swordsman has a spear, has a shield stat of 3, and the pikes don't, and there's some less defense skill. So still watch out for them with archers. Then here we have 3 units of missile. This is the one who is, I think, widely available. The Longbeard crossbows, with a 7 attack, a 12 missile attack, a 2 charge, and an 80 defense. They are just a direct upgrade of your Ered Luin scouts. Pretty tanky as well. They do have a shield stat, but I think it's only applied when they really carry that shield, but I'm not really sure. 26 missiles, 165 meter range. That's slightly only a few meters more than the scouts, but a high accuracy will mean that they are most likely to hit what they are aiming for. And I will first deal with the broad beam marksman, which is of course the bodyguard of Clan Harold Grain. Is Clan Harold Grain? I think so. With an 8 melee attack, a 40 missile attack, a 2 charge, and a 60 defense. They are similar to the long big crossbow, slightly better actually. Well, slightly better on the offense. They are less armored. I think yes, they are way less armored, and rely more on the defense skill than their armor. So they are more vulnerable to archer fire. But they deal also some more damage to them. Effective against armor like all crossbows. Can hide anywhere, which is a pretty nice trait. They have excellent morale, good morale response, 26 missiles. They have way more range than the Longbeards with 190 meters and a very high accuracy. And these are restricted to the Blue Mountain region, so these guys cannot be trained everywhere. Then I did put in the Hittite Beast Hunters, because they will be, I think, available as a mercenary. But they might be available as regular units in the Misty Mountains, because that is where they come from. With a 9 melee attack, a 5 missile attack, a 7 charge, and a 70 defense, they are reasonable archers. They have armor piercing attacks, which is a nice addition to their bows, but they are not better than your crossbows, because although they carry regular bows, their range is even less than the Longbeards. They have less missiles, less accuracy. They have very good morale, and that patches morale spawns, but overall they are slightly worse than your Longbeards. And then we come to your elite tier units, and I made even an above elite tier unit, because that is where we have to put the Balerian Honor Guard. And we start with the ones who will be available to you always. That's the Gabil Control Guard with a 10 attack, a 5 charge, and at 31 defense. They are a regular elite tier sword and board unit. The morale is unwavering. Good morale response, and don't forget, this is the bodyguard of Clan Lord Gore. Then I will take on the Grimborn Reavers. This is the unit you will get from Grinfawn and from accepting the ring, with an 15 attack, which is bizarre. Actually, it's the highest you have so far. A 7 charge and a 26 defense. Really good unit. They frighten nearby enemies, unwavering morale and locked. Impetuous morale spawns. They're not restricted, so that is nice. But they only come when you accept the rings. And the general that spawns, if you accept the ring, if you accept the rings, Grinfawn will have this as his bodyguard. They have this really nice dark look, like you immediately get the vibes from these are kind of evil dwarves. Then next to them is actually a unit I am not really sure where you get it from, the Azagal's Tomb Protectors. I think they are part of the Khazad-Dûm script. It might be that you will get access once you completed the script, but I'm not really sure because they were not listed anywhere in the building, so I couldn't figure out where they came from. And I already saw them last week, and that was when I thought these guys had replaced the Balerind on a guard, but apparently it's not. And I'm not really sure how you can get them actually, but it's everything in here is listed about the fairy rod of Glaurung, fallen king of Belagos. So it does suggest that they come once the script, once the Basra-Dûm script has ended. If you know this, and if I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments, because I honestly doesn't know. I've searched through it, I have tried to figure it out, but I just couldn't find it. But that besides, let's take a look at them. With a 9 attack, a 7 charge, and a 25 defense, they are similar. Well, they are not as good as the Gabil Katol Guard. I think they are more likely on the Longbeard tier. So they are actually a tier too high. But it is what it is. Their attack is armor piercing though, and they inspire nearby enemies, nearby troops. They have unwavering morale and locked, good morale spawns, bonus against elephants. So I think with those additional abilities, I think they might deserve a spot here up in the elite tier. The Azagel's Tomb Protectors. And then our Uber tier unit, the Balerind Honor Guard, tested as the best pike unit in the game, and can be trained once you have built the second tier of the Rhun vaults, the vaults of Baleriand, with a 10 attack, which you should triple to get the actual damage they do. The 4 charge, which is pretty useless because pikes often most likely don't charge. And then 30 defense, which for the majority is in armor though. These guys are just beasts on the field. They inspire nearby troops, they frighten nearby enemies. A very good unit, and they miss the morale part, so that's odd. I would suggest they are around this description. So unwavering morale unlocked, good morale spawns, slightly slower, and the bonus against all mounts. So the Balerind Honor Guard, really good unit, but pretty late tier. And then last but not least, I already showed them shortly, the Tamun Zahar Nobles, which has been changed. It used to be a double-handed sword unit, but is now a crossbow and spear and shield unit. With a 10 melee attack, a 12 missile attack, a 5 charge, and a 28 defense. They are pretty good generals, I would say. Their crossbows are effective against armor and skilled against mounts. They have unwavering morale and it's locked, so your generals will not run away. They will fight to the death. Good morale spawns, bonus against all mounts, 26 missiles, 175 meter range, and a very high accuracy. So they are better than your what's that called? Longbeard crossbows, but they are, in my opinion, worse than your broadbeam marksman. Accuracy is equal, but most of the time I look a lot to the range, because in my opinion, as long as the enemy can't hit you, but you can hit the enemy, you will always do more damage than they do. So that is why I think the range is such an important stat. But there we have the Tamun Zahar Nobles. Well, I will gift everything to the AI. And we'll have a one last look at what we will find, what we'll see next week. And it is a faction I think we should be able to beat with this army. There are a lot of good units in here. But let's take a look. I see some red, I see some gray around here. They have brought some catapults, because the AI is intended to do so. I see some more gray, but especially the red is very much in here. Together with some yellow, actually. Move around. Do we see any special units we might see over here? No, they are just horses. Next week we are dealing with the Haradrim tribes. We have some various swordsmen, some trollmen in there. More trollmen. Warlord scatterfrags, which are of course more Khandish units. Where's my Belaird honor guard? Well, we are being slaughtered, it seems like. Well, let's... Now they should die quite easily. I'm not sure what they are fighting. The Gabil Cathol Guard, which is terrible. We are literally being slaughtered here, which is... What an abysmal performance. What a poor performance, actually. At least the Belaird honor guard don't mess up. Did we actually won? Oh.
We remain true and steadfast. Victory will be ours.
These guys are at least worth their money.
If we remain true and steadfast, victory will be ours. Look how our victory is ours.
Right. Yes, indeed. We lost way too many, man. Well, that is it for me for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If so, please leave a like. If you want to see more, subscribe to the channel. And I hope to see you soon in another video of Divide and Conquer. But until then, goodbye.